Hello, and welcome to another episode of Despite the Challenges, a show where we showcase people with amazing abilities who not only with their impeding circumstances and challenges overcome them, turn around their own lives, but they go out in the community and do amazing things. As indicated in our last segment, we are taking a little bit diversion from our usual theme and continuing our special series on domestic violence education and prevention program dedicated to Latino community in a New Brunswick area, which was made possible by Avon Grant. In this segment, my guests are Program Coordinator Elaine Hewins. She is the Domestic Violence Education Awareness Community Health Promotions Program Coordinator from Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital. And I have with her Veronica Ortiz. She is Domestic Violence Outreach Personnel, again, Community Health Promotions to Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Ritu.
Thank you for having us.
So good to have this opportunity to talk about the No Mass program. So in our previous segment, we talked about how this program came about and how it's going to be helping the domestic violence education program within the Latino community. And I'm sure there's a whole lot that you guys have been doing past few months and will continue in coming few months as a part of this program. So let's talk about Tier 2 a little bit,
Sure, yeah. Last time we talked a bit about Tier 1, and we shared that we're doing workshops with Latinas, ladies in the community, to reduce the stigma of reporting domestic and sexual violence, to dispel myths about how the system works, provide a supportive, comfortable environment, and capitalize on one of the major strengths of the Latina community, which is women helping women. So in addition to providing these interactive workshops for 1,000 Latinas, we hope to reach, focusing on New Brunswick and Perth Amboy communities. Another aspect of the program is the Tier 2 that you just mentioned, Ritu. Yes. And with Tier 2, we are providing workshops for professionals, such as social workers, healthcare providers, counselors in schools, clergy, key lay people in houses of worship, to give them a very similar program. And do you want to talk a little bit about what the program includes in the Tier 2 workshop?
So in the Tier 2 workshop, it's essentially the same curriculum that we covered with the women in the Tier 1. The No Mas initiative, overall, it's an empowering educational and awareness campaign, and we're looking to address the fears associated with reporting domestic violence and sexual assault, specifically in the Latino community. So trying to address fears such as deportation, fear of more violence to themselves and to women, and to themselves and to their children, and fear of their children being taken away. And we also provide broader information on domestic violence and sexual violence. And the basis of the program is building on one of the major strengths in the Latino community, which is women helping women. So a lot of what we cover in the curriculum is very cultural based. We talk a lot about the Latino values, and we emphasize like the strengths of unity, which is really super key and important within the community. And in addition to addressing all those, for allowing them to know their rights, that despite their legal status, that they do have the right to report the violence. So that's like our focus for the Tier 1, and for Tier 2, we address the same concepts but we add the piece of like best practices. So if you were to have a client, or if like a parent, a lot of times in like the preschool, like if you're aware of one of the parents undergoing domestic violence or sexual violence, like what are some of the things that you can do to help them out?
Okay. So now this makes really interesting, because this with the communities, cultural influences is a personal issue, is a domestic issue. No intervention is needed. Let them sort it out, right? From there to going out to the clergy, to going out to the school teachers, or making them aware, hey, you have some social responsibility here, right?
Yes, yeah.
So what do you see the reception among these people that you reach out for Tier 2?
They're very excited and happy to have the information. We know that, you know, professionals believe the same myths about domestic and sexual violence as the larger society. Somebody could be a physician or have a PhD, but if they haven't been educated about the effects of domestic and sexual violence, what the issues are, what the dynamics are like, then they're likely to believe the myths, and they might inadvertently re-victimize the victim by asking a question such as, why do you stay? So they're very happy to have more information and more tools, a greater understanding of what the rights of their clients are, and where to refer them, because we spend a lot of time talking about local resources that can help, either legal, you know, domestic violence agencies, sexual assault, attorneys, social service agencies, etc.
So let's just talk about a little bit more on, say, if I were to pick a particular area of professionals or people that associate together, churches or schools. What kind of similarities or differences in your approach will be to go out to them? Say, for example, in churches, usually everyone is welcome, right? Abuser is welcome and abused is welcome.
Right, so for our Tier 1 workshops, they are for women or anybody who identifies as a woman. And we explain that, you know, if any organization wants a co-ed presentation or a presentation for men, we are more than happy to come and do that. But the No Mas Tier 1 sessions are for ladies.
Okay.
So, and we found that going where Latinas are comfortable is the best thing to do. So recently we conducted a workshop immediately following Mass. Veronica is bilingual, and she did the presentation in Spanish immediately following Mass in a Catholic church. And it was only open to the ladies. And,
I see.
And we need to do things like arrange childcare, provide food, because oftentimes these workshops, the women work all day. And if they're going to come at 6 o'clock, we need to be able to provide food and make them comfortable in order to get the message out.
And of course, be open to come and discuss and share, and be open to comprehend the information.
And I think what we're seeing though is, you know, what the foundation of the whole program is women helping women. And what we're seeing is that women are coming back to the workshops, attending them again in order to support another woman's attendance there.
Wow.
That's
amazing.
Powerful.
That's very powerful. Would you like to share any of the experiences that just stick out so much, they stand out, you know, after you giving this educational program into them? Churches or with these workshops, just for our viewers, just kind of give them something.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the vibes in the room, each vibe is completely different from the other one, but I think that the overall message at the end is that the women, they feel very supported, and we are now known as like a trustworthy type of a person. And so then they could spread the word to others, like these people have good information, like they want to share, they want to help, they want to be there, they want to support us. So I feel like the feedback that we're receiving is that they're very appreciative, they're super grateful, and I feel like they feel even more empowered once they leave. And then when they feel more empowered, they're able to empower others as well. So the feedback has been phenomenal from these women.
I understand that the first responders would be part of this program as well to receive this kind of education training.
Yes, with the
And
tier 2.
In
yeah.
most cases, majority of the counties and the domestic violence response teams, they have involved themselves into such type of trainings. Now, in New Brunswick area, or especially with this projects initiative, the area that targets, there are bilingual first responders available.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If
Yeah.
women reaches out, or men in that case, whoever has the need to report a case, the bilingual help is available to them.
Absolutely.
Right. So, are there literature you make them available? Any kind of brochures, etc. You make them available in Spanish as well as in English?
Yep,
You do?
absolutely.
Yes, yeah, we have our No Mas brochure right here, and it's we've produced it in both Spanish and English.
I see. Okay.
And it summarizes some of the main points of the presentation.
So, what I would like to do for our viewers, if you could go over some of the important pieces of information contained in these brochures. So, for our viewers, I would like to ask a little bit more about what the information is contained in this brochure. Of course, there are a lot of useful information that agencies and their contact information, phone numbers. But I definitely would want to go over some of the information that might not be available as handy as you have brought in. So if you want to just go over a little bit,
Sure.
which is coming out of this project.
Yeah. I mean, one of the main points that we want to drive home is that regardless of a person's immigration status, if they've been subjected to domestic or sexual violence, they have the right to report it to the police and file a complaint. And here in New Jersey, we have restraining orders. So they
Yes.
would have the right to file a restraining order against the person who had abused them. And we're explaining who's eligible under the law and what crimes qualify. And, all victims of domestic and sexual violence can report to the police. Beyond that, our federal government has put some laws in place with an understanding that immigrant victims of crimes may be more vulnerable. For example, the traditional kind of stereotypical example that we often think of is where a victim of domestic violence has immigrated, and her spouse either holds a green card as a legal permanent resident or as a citizen. And he or she may be holding their immigration status over the victim's head. And in the old days, before we had the Violence Against Women Act and the ability to self-petition, the abuser could say, if you report the violence to the police, if you report me, sign a complaint, I'll withdraw your application and you'll go back. So in the early 90s, Congress and the Clinton administration signed the Violence Against Women Act. And so abused spouses now have the power to self-petition for their immigration status if they're married to someone with a green card or a citizen.
So that would be the case if they are married to, and I'm sure that there are living, they might be living with a person, there is no marriage in place.
Right.
In those cases, a woman or man in that case has the right to report a violence.
Yes, they can still report it, and while they can't self-petition under VAWA for their status, they may be able to file for a U visa.
Okay.
So in the case of a U visa, if there has been a crime and the victim reports it, and there's a specific list of crimes that qualify, as long as the victim cooperates with the police in the investigation, she may be able to file for a U visa.
Okay.
And benefits of a U visa include it may lead to having a work permit. It can lead
Initially.
it can lead to gaining status. Sometimes other family members can also apply for status, according to their relationship with the victim. And again, the federal government put these provisions into place because they understood that immigrant victims of crimes have more vulnerability. So with our No Mas initiative, we're so pleased that the Avon Foundation has funded us at Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital to do this work, and we are all about disseminating that information. So as you said, Ritu, we're sharing it orally, but it's a lot for community members to take in and remember. So the brochure accompanies the trainings, the workshops, and provides that information.
Yes. And I'm sure there would be a whole lot follow-up work that you and the community and the coalitions would have to do. But this isn't a good first-hand information to give it to them, take some of the fear away.
Yes.
Right? So they would be sent back, their children would be taken away from them, what would happen, they get arrested. So just that fear is kind of minimized, mitigated a little bit there.
It's a glimpse of hope that we're given.
Yes, yes. So they don't have to continue living into an abusive household.
Exactly.
Yeah. At the same time, we recognize that adult victims are just that, adults. And it's not anybody's place to tell them what to do. So as caring professionals, if we encounter a victim or a survivor, we can say, I'm feeling very concerned about you. And help is available and you have rights. And I can help to connect you to that information. But it's not for us to tell her what to do about her relationship. And additionally, we know that for abused women, leaving the relationship is the most dangerous time. So more women are seriously injured or killed when they leave. So we include safety planning as a topic, and we give sample safety plans. So as Veronica is conducting the sessions in either Spanish or English, we're making that information available.
So with this grant that made it possible, what led just focus on Latina women?
Yeah, so the Avon Foundation prioritizing addressing the abuse of women. So they conducted research to better understand domestic violence and sexual violence in the Latino community. And what they found was that fear was the #1 reason why these victims were not reporting, and specifically fear of deportation was the #1. So it was 41% said that it was fear of deportation, 39%. Yeah, 39% said that it was fear of more violence happening to themselves or to their children after reporting. And another 39% had also said it was a fear of their children being taken away.
So I think that is in a person's mind, I want to say victim's mind, a huge concern. They'll be deported, there'll be more abuse, and their children would be taken away. Right? So these are the big reasons, and they continue taking that unacceptable behavior day after day. Right.
It's also fear of the unknown. So for many victims and survivors of domestic and sexual violence, regardless of their culture, fear of the unknown and those same fears without the additional layer perhaps of deportation, but fear of greater violence or fear of children being taken away is present. And
it is.
And sometimes it's like the evil that I know is less scary than a system that's mysterious to me. And we combine that with what we sometimes call the L word, which is that victims love. They either love or loved the abuser. So oftentimes they might be ready to come out of that relationship.
But there's some sort of sympathy or
there's
some
still a
cultural
bond.
Pressure there. So after you go through this education and giving them some ray of hope, giving them something that's a better way, giving them something to look for, drop those few seeds around. Can you mention any case or some examples where women actually do reach out and they open up?
Oh yeah, we've seen in I think pretty much all our workshops, after their tier workshops that have been conducted, various women coming up to either Elaine and I and sharing their stories of whether they are currently in their abusive situation or that they are survivors. And a lot of the times, you know, they do go into detail about what it is that they went through, but I think it's just more of having somebody to hear them and to being able to listen to them and to know that they're not alone. I feel like that is that's the message that is being, you know, portrayed.
And education is the key. Eventually it does hit home, right? Or in the light of information, when the abuse becomes at its peak, right? Or the tolerance is at its peak. You no longer want to tolerate anymore. So it's good to know that they had the information if they wanted to reach out, or they may reach out.
Or to help somebody else.
Or somebody
right?
else.
Absolutely.
And that's how we're promoting it in the community, to help reduce the stigma of attending. That just because you're coming doesn't mean that you are a victim. But we say to the Latinas, please come, learn how to help someone else in your community.
Yes.
Be a leader. Know what can be done about this, and that helps to reduce the stigma.
And as you had mentioned, even in our previous segment, the women helping women. So they become a good source to them, to give them some counseling, some sort of empathy, some encouragement, right?
Yeah, they're already helping each other with all kinds of daily things. Somebody's sick, baby born, weddings, etc. And what our message is, then we need to not turn away in our fellow woman's time of need, even though the cultural message may have been that's between a husband and a wife, or maybe she did something to deserve it, or I need to stay out of other people's business. So our message is the abuser is already isolating that survivor.
Yes.
So let us, as her peers, as other women, not turn away. But how can we safely support that person? So we don't want anyone to endanger themselves.
And I think, I'm sorry,
Go
and
ahead.
I think there's something else to be said in the fact that it's a room full of only women. And I feel like these women have reported back that has been essential in their ability to share their stories and to open up.
And feel safe.
And feel safe, exactly.
Right. So if one in the room stands up and shares, maybe there are others who can see their story and someone else's story.
Absolutely.
So
right?
you can feel everybody's resilience and strength, and that's definitely, it's powerful because you could feed off of one another.
In this tier 2, when you're reaching out to the community leaders and agencies or professionals, what are others besides churches, first responders, schools? Are there other segments of the community that you have reached out and you have gotten good support?
Yeah, I can give one example. One example would be in New Brunswick, there's an organization called PRAB, which stands for the Puerto Rican Action Board. And PRAB serves the entire community, regardless of religion or ethnicity, etc. And so the executive director, Jose Montes, has really embraced the No Mas initiative. He spoke at our launch event back in December, and he has partnered with us to be sure that both our Tier 1 and Tier 2 workshops come to the PRAB clients and staff. And this is a community-based organization that provides all different kinds of social services, also oversees many preschools in New Brunswick, and the school-based youth services in the public school. So that's an example of an organization that has really embraced the initiative and partnered with us, and it's been terrific.
That's good to know. And we will provide all the information, contact information, websites, etc. for our viewers if they would like to get some more information about PRAB and their initiatives. So if someone wants to reach out, they can. Now, this NOMAS project, which is 3-tier project through this grant, it ends at a certain time of the year, or would it be a continuation of the program?
Our current initiative concludes at the end of December of 2016. we're certainly looking at ways to continue the work because it's making such an important impact.
Impact into
Yeah.
the community. I know we have just a little bit time left. I would like to ask, and especially for our viewers who might be benefiting from this information, as during this program, you're reaching out to the daycares or school teachers. And it's needless to say that we know there are young victims of domestic violence. They are just innocent bystanders. They are children, they're innocent, they happen to be there. What kind of educational approaches are being discussed with the teachers or with the preschoolers or daycares, that if they know that there's something is happening in their homes, the teachers should be asking right questions or being vigilant? Are you addressing any part of those in this program?
I mean, in both our Tier 1 and Tier 2 workshops, a portion of the curriculum discusses the effects on children who witness domestic violence. So they're getting that information, and we encourage so for the moms, for the Latinas, it is affecting your children. So then with the cultural value of familismo in the Latino community, that and an importance placed on keeping the family together, we introduce the idea, yes, that's very important, but there's already a disruption happening because the children are being negatively affected when they witness it, as well as the negative effects on the victim. So we try to plant that seed that, yes, there's such a value of familismo and keeping the family together, but at what cost?
At what cost?
At what cost? Then with the Tier 2, with the professionals, we're sharing information on the effects on children and what their behavior might show, and encouraging them, you could speak privately to that student. Is everything okay? You can make a referral, and refer, check it out with mom maybe, and make a referral to the people who are the experts.
Excellent. I know we are out of time for this segment, and we have continuation. This has been such a amazing project, and I'm sure that there is a whole lot to come, even though when the project is over. So I look forward to having you again in our next segment. And for our viewers, I hope that you are finding information discussed here is critical and valuable, and there might be people in your community, in your neighborhood, that might be able to benefit. And please feel free to call these numbers, reach out to them, like their Facebook pages, and in any way, if you can support your community. So this would be a big contribution to the community service. Thank you for watching Despite the Challenges. I am host Ritu Chopra. Until next time, bye-bye.